Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the More Survivalists. In this case, do stay for this video. Horrible incident in Paris involving this 12-year-old little girl. And stuff that you have to learn, keep in mind to keep yourself and mostly your family safe. Before I go on with the video though, yes, we couldn't do the live stream this weekend. I was out of town, just got back, so it is what it is. I'll try to go live tonight, 3 p.m. if I can, just a short while, just to catch up with you guys. I know you folks miss these things, and talk a little bit about ongoing events around the world. So let's get to this right away. I mean, this just breaks your heart. This is just terrible. And it involves, well, this 12-year-old little girl. This homeless woman committed all of these terrible acts on her. And well, she dumped her in a suitcase that was stained with blood, according to some sources. David B, 24-year-old, is indicted over this. I mean, and you can read up if you want to torture yourself with this more. But the girl was found inside the suitcase. Numbers imprinted on her chest. The suspect boasted about selling human parts. 6 people, including David B's older sister, Frahira, whatever, its connection to all of this. Took the girl to her sister's flat and forced her to take a shower before doing all of this stuff. And this woman is an Algerian national. How is it that this woman, well, Babida B is an Algerian national who arrived in France in 2016 on a student resident permit. Okay, that's nice. That's good to know how these people end up in your neighborhood. How middle class 12-year-old little girl is no longer with us and had this horrible ending, and her family completely destroyed because someone thought that it was a good idea to bring these people over to your community. It's not just her, it's her sister. 6 other people, all of them Algerians, were involved in this. All right. Why is this important? Is this me being an evil monster? I'm an immigrant wherever I go all the time. So I know perfectly well what it's like to be a foreigner in some other country. But you know what's the difference? Basic core values that Westerners share and that some people don't have themselves. In Algeria, you're talking a country that is 99% Muslim. It has, according to U.S. Sources, until recently, it's not a free country, officially speaking. I think that changed to a semi-free state not too long ago, but all sorts of human rights violations. It's just a place where the understanding of good and right, evil, is different. They have just a different idea of what civilized behavior is, right? This woman, well, what she did, I cannot even say here on YouTube because if not, but she said when this woman was shown the pictures of her handiwork, she said, "It does not make me hot or cold. I too was and saw my parents in front of me," right? So yeah, so this woman is not bothered in the least by what she did to this girl, right? So why is this important? Because this is being forced on you. These people with completely different ideas of what civilized behavior is. These people with very different ideas of what being a good person or a monster is. They are just thrown to your gates. Now, very interesting, following up, what is it that you have on France 24 right now? What is the main news? Well, of course, not this. It's, of course, climate change, because that's a real monster here. That's a real concern that you should be worrying about. Not losing your 12-year-old daughter to these savages. No, you have to be worried about climate change in somewhere else, right? And it's not only just that. You have to worry about the flood victims in Pakistan. You have to worry about global wildlife population have plunged over 70% since 1970, says WWF, which is, of course, a very trusted source for all matters of world events. Australia set aside billions for renewable projects to update the power grid. So all of this stuff, I scroll down, there's not a single mention of this, right? There's not a single mention of this horrible incident that just happened yesterday, right? In Paris. right? This is being hidden from people so as to go with a certain narrative, a certain agenda, which is everything is okay. It happens all the time. All over Europe, wherever you see the numbers, it's off the charts, disproportional. The amount of people involved, especially in the more heinous, insane crimes, it's disproportionately people from these parts of the world that are involved in this. They just don't want you to be aware of this, and they hide the news. You have to look it up yourself, because if not, it goes unnoticed. Folks, what is it that you can learn from all of this? You have to protect your kids. You have to protect yourself. A 12-year-old girl, I mean, I have a son that's not that much older myself, and yes, of course, a boy, girls are different, in spite of whatever these lunatics want us to believe, that the same lunatics that want to lie to us in other aspects. Yes, boys and girls are not the same, but a 12-year-old little boy is really not all that more capable of defending himself against predators than a 12-year-old little girl. So you have to watch. I wouldn't leave a 12-year-old on their own. I would have someone go with them. I've lived in places that are a lot more dangerous, and I know how brutal and savage people can be, so I just wouldn't do it, right? And it's a difficult line, exactly, if it's a boy, if it's a girl, what age exactly is it, how big is that kid? Some kids are pretty large, some kids have more capabilities in terms of physically pushing away a predator, like this woman, this Algerian woman that took this girl away. So all of these things do come into place. But remember, you need to have knowledge of how to defend yourself. If you can take classes, even better. If not, a lot of this stuff is covered in street survival skills, and you can practice some of these things. You can have certain tools with you. As always, the EDC, right? The part about using these tools as to defend yourself, a great alternative for a girl like that, more petite. Maybe you don't carry a bigger folder. You go with something like this. This is a little folder I got for my wife back in the day. This is a Delica, tiny little folder. And, she still likes it. And, it's compact, it's lightweight. You have the option of pepper spray as well. I think you need to assess your surroundings, assess your area, the kind of risk you're at. But always remember, this stuff can happen at any time, anywhere. You just don't know when you have a lunatic next door. It may be local, it may be imported from other parts where these things are even more common. But you just never know. So you always have to keep your guard up. I'm not talking about living in fear. That's no way of living. But you need to have certain tools with you, certain skills with you, some knowledge of how to use tools like these to defend yourself. And you can teach your kids these sort of things. Now, don't overestimate their capabilities or your own. This happens all the time. This happens all the time with people that think they know how to shoot because their granddad taught him how, or they hunted squirrels back in the day, and I'm a country boy. Well, you can be a country boy that has no freaking idea of how to use a firearm for self-defense because you never actually got defensive firearms training, right? And that's the only way in which you truly acquire those skills. Some of that regarding firearms, regarding knives, is covered in street survival skills to quite an extent. This is something that, yes, keeping your family safe, home security, all of that stuff, it's crucial as we keep witnessing how our world keeps changing, and in terms of how you live through an economic collapse, something that's happening in different countries all over the world, the practical aspect of living during economic collapse, it's covered in Surviving the Economic Collapse, my book that has over 1,000 reviews in Amazon, and still adding more each day. Folks, that's gonna be all for now. Remember, you just can't be careful enough. There's a limit, there's a line there in which, are you paranoid about stuff that is not real? Are you just going through life without any worries and just hoping for the best? I think there's a point there in between where you go on with your life, you enjoy life. I enjoy my life. I make strategic decisions to actually have the best possible quality of life within my possibilities, within my means, right? But always keeping a certain level of awareness so as to avoid this kind of stuff. All right, folks, if you're just waiting for the end of the world, if you're just waiting for the nuclear war, which will not come, just get that out of your mind. World War III, yeah, that's not something you're likely to see at all, and it's less likely by the day, all right? So within the wide spectrums of things that are possible, that is very far-fetched. This is quite likely, especially in some parts, especially in parts where these people are just shoved down your throat and living right next door. Folks, see you in our next video. Take care.